Market recap for Friday, the 23rd of January 2026. Okay, so coming to today, right? What I expected initially was when I seen price at Asia was that we go up in Asia, then we go up in London, and then we dump in New York, right? But as we can see, we went up in Asia, we swept in New York, right? And then we start consolidating. So just one thing to check real quick on the hourly. Just need to check the market structure. Right, so let's just check the 4 hour. By the way, this is a session that I have not traded, right? I was too busy to trade New York today. And I had a break even in the PM session as soon as I was able to get in the chart, right? So I'm gonna show that later. But as we can see, we're respecting this fair value gap, right? If we just want to talk these type of PDA arrays, right? So let me just drop down to the 1 minute, just show market structure really, right? As we can see, we have sell side that looks to be relative equal lows, okay? But any lows and highs, I need to check if they match PDA arrays perfectly. And as we can see, this low right here is a prominent low. Why? Because on the daily levels, right, we had checked the new weekly opening gap, and what other than the new weekly opening gap is this wick inside it. As you can see, that low was a 0.625 up there, and I mentioned yesterday that we would aim higher at least until we reach the midpoint of this wick. That's why we stated out yesterday, and then we'll see how we treat that area. Are we gonna go displace really above it, or we're gonna come back and close in the range, and then I might be bearish? And as you can see that we closed in the new weekly opening gap right there exactly, which entails that we're gonna open up bearish next week, and then if we're gonna head up again up or not. But we put our up close candles, and then I'm expecting down close candles in this range for next week anyway, or even one. It doesn't have to be many. Like there could be one day and then just dumps all these days. So initially I'm bullish, right? Even though we have relative equal lows, because at the same time we have relative equal highs. If we just count liquidity wise, we have 1 2 3 4 5 buy side liquidity up, and then the target, which was the midpoint somewhere around here, and then we have 3 lows. And as you can see, that low, like we said, is that low, a 0.265 exactly. So if you just zoom it out, you can see it's exactly that low. So I'm not expecting us to go there unless I'm very wrong about the bullish upside, but the market is bullish, so I'm not going to change my bias until I'm proven wrong, which means taking these lows, for example, right? So let's play out this session, and I'll try like trade it if knowing how to trade as well. We're just gonna wait for 9:30 opening, just for one more confluence. Okay. Alright, we'll open up and we'll already show up for the liquidity. I just want to see if there's any 15-minute inversions or anything, right? We need a closure up of this, so I'm just gonna have this marked out. I'm also gonna keep an eye out on this order block, and it lines up to me, looks like it's around the midpoint of this wick, right? So it's just slide it under. So I'm just gonna have these PD arrays marked out and just see what price reacts to, and if it wants to even seek any of these lows right now before heading higher, right? So that's my initial bias. I'm still bullish, right? Right now we're in the middle of the range. We have more buy side and a higher time frame target than sell side, right? That's why I wouldn't bother too much with the sell side. On regular trading hours, we closed our, and you're gonna see why I mean by the other buy side, because you can see that I was cutting through price because there's buy side liquidity on regular trading hours and electronic, and they're different, right? Even though I'm cutting through candles, they're still there. So here I normally wait for 940 to just even think of even entering, right? So this is 940, and I can see that we ended up going, let me just double check, if we can get the mean threshold of that order block as well. I drew a trend line, so just for any bullish confluence we need to just get that midpoint. Right, and that's around the midpoint of that wick, right? We can see that we went below it. So at this area that I'm going to be looking, that with this close we might have a sweep at the lows. One more thing I'll be checking, so it's 937, is ES, and if ES has taken its lows yet. So I'm just gonna have this marked out real quick. I don't need to mark it. Does ES have relative equal lows but prior? No, ES already taken the low. ES was already taken at 9. So as long as that SMT holds, I don't care about the low until we prove that we're really bullish, right? I did end up seeing that the market was high, so I'm guessing this is how it played, but I'm not sure if it swept or not. It can sweep, it doesn't need to sweep, it can be saved for like next week. So let me just see. Alright, okay, it's moving way too fast, so let's just put this at 1 for now. Right here we create our first presented fair value gap, right? We head over this, which kind of swept an intermediate term low. It didn't go for all the lows, so I'd probably enter if we enter macro time. I mean, it's 940, so I would have one entry here, small risk on the first presented, right, which I aim to put to break even quickly, right? So let's see if this gets tagged, right? I want to also check the market structure on the 5-minute real quick, right? Again, same thing, right? So all this in play, this is a valid type of entry, and then we'll just see. Right, I get tagged in, we move above this, stop loss at break even instantly for this, right? I wouldn't want price to go lower, and if it goes lower, then I would look to re-entry if everything's still valid, but I'm not going to have my stop loss jammed below the low of this first presented fair value gap, because we still have these relative equal lows. So I'll just have it cautious at break even, right? It hits break even, it goes back to the mean threshold. Let's see if it holds. As long as it doesn't close below the first presented, it's still fine, but it's still questionable at the same time, right? Okay, there, right? That if it's bearish, it should have went lower from here. So where we're at macro time. This, because this would be a fair value gap in the 15-second midpoint, it never reached. Like, I'd be watching if it creates a gap here, or if we're going to use this as an order block. Alright, it looks like it's not interested. I would want it to go I would want it to go above the high, then I would look to enter the high of it if it's really bullish. Alright, it goes. I wouldn't think I would get this entry, to be fair, but that's what I would try to enter on. Alright, cool, it wicks me into it. Stop loss for this honestly, I would look for the mean threshold of this, just slightly below it. So I'd allow for slightly of this wick, maybe just a slight touch of the first presented fair value gap. So something around here, that'd be an entry, and my target would just be the relative equal highs all the way at the high here. And honestly, that's how I trade today. I'm pretty sure it did go up from here. So midnight, first TP. Alright, we're having a bit of displacement. If it was entering on like 10 MNQs, then I'd take one partial here. Okay, stop loss, by the way, forgot to say. Once we wicked, then once we went over here, it would have been break even. Alright, and then honestly, I'd allow all the way down to here if it wants to go to. Alright, so that would be me trading New York if I traded today, but hey, too busy to trade today. So now I believe we do end up visiting our target, which I'll have it marked here as well on this chart, where I would seek reversal, because if today, right, I'm looking mainly for TGIF, right? So let's just get the midpoint of that wick. Okay, blue. Right, and that would be like my max extension for today as a target, right? So like, let's say I had a runner or something, I would expect price to get there. But like I said yesterday, I said that's where I would expect price to at least to go for this week. And then after that, if it showed that it would be the high, then I'm gonna try and mark out TGIF, which is what the trade that I'll try to enter for today was. So let's just put this on 10x. Right, we go there, and yep, we have a fake displacement through it, and then we actually displace lower. Right, so that, does it come at lunch? Nope. So this is not my time to enter. And why would it be there? Because I'd be seeking, if we just go on the hourly, I'd be seeking TGIF, which is the low of the week to the high. Friday normally retraces back into the range of 20 to 30%, which is TGIF. So I'll have the 20 and 30% marked out. Right, is that the low of the week? That's the high. Right, so if that matches with anything, there is a trade. Right, 20% is here. Is this the 10? Right, so that low would be a target for after lunch, which is after 10:30. So if there's a trade, and that was my main trade that I was looking for, but only came at the market near the PM session. So let's just show that as a sell side liquidity. Right, next to the TGIF 20%, midnight open, we invest this gap. Right, this would be an entry, but it's not in time, so I'm just gonna wait for 11:30 at least. All right, 11:30 is here, and honestly, I might have taken this. Right, it's at 11:30, goes up to this gap, and then I'd have break even again. So let's just see if that went up. Nope, that went down. 11:30 actually comes back up, and then comes back all the way to this, which be the inversion for the 2 minutes, was what see that was holding the price. There's a volume imbalance here. So once I see this reaction, there's relative equal highs here, like mini ones that you'd see on like a 15-second chart. Right, this little rundown either that or that. That would be my ideal entry, right? So let's just say a short from here, right? This would be like less um less of a high entry, right? I'd have stop loss all the way up here, right there, right? And then TP all the way down at which was the sell side? 1 before 10, 10, right there, 20%, right? That'd be my ideal TGIF trade. I'm not sure if we sweep or gone above, but I wasn't at the market here. Alright, we ended up actually visiting it again. We go down, we go down. I'm trying to remember when I entered the market. Yeah, right there. I think when I seen that we made relative equal lows, I think I opened the chart around here. There's a 15-minute gap with this place above. I was waiting for 130 for the first presented fair value gap. Boom, right there, we created it, and then I enter based on that. So have a volume loss. Let's just put it right there. Alright. So anyway, stop loss at break even once we had this displacement. Or basically once we take this low. That would have been the perfect trade for me, right? Honestly, up here, probably. Like let's say I got early, but I would doubt I'd wait for time. This. And then here, let me show you the break even trade, which is basically targeting these lows because now they're relative equal lows, right? Once we go into it, I enter. Once I see that we displace above, have an inversion for this, that was my entry right there. And the price should have run down from there, but it was held, right? It runs down, and then I get tagged at break even. I remember purely right there, right? We go above it, we hit the relative equal highs here, like minor relative equal highs, and then I was waiting, I came back later, and where was my re-entry? Let me just remember, it's not here. I had two break evens, right? If I zoom in, we can see we're still stalling. Again, we're making relative equal lows, right? Price is not disrespecting the midpoint here at 250. I was waiting for the macro. I'm seeing this respect, and I take a short again here, which again hits break even again. Right, where does it hit break even? Yeah, I added into it, and then my break even was here, which was got hit. You can see market is just stalling, and then one last time I short this right here, and then I go instantly break even, hits break even. So that was 3 break evens just trying to target the lows, and by this time it's already 4, and to me that's end of market for me. I would have expected this run at 350 to just shoot down, but as you can see eventually we just wanted to go there slightly at the close, and then we hit the liquidity. So it's just unfortunate, like it happens, whatever. Like if I entered the trade at time, if I was at the market at time, like around 11:30 and after, maybe I would have got one break even on this short, and then I would re-enter again, like just how I showed, but with a higher stop loss, allowing for this. And as you can see, I would have either got out here, I maybe would have partialed off and then allowed that the market to come on later on or whatever. But yeah, so there was two trades, mainly my New York time, the longs, and then the shorts for the end of the day for TGIF. As you can see, we ended up going to the 0.2%, so 20% retracement on the weekly range, and that's how the market closes, just right below the new weekly opening gap, right? Okay, so right there. So anyway, that's the market recap for today. It was a okay Friday, right? It wasn't the clearest because of the relative equal lows, but we already had an SMT. This low was protected, so yeah. Anyway, that's the market recap. Peace out.